And welcome to our weekly event, the Eros Sutra study. I am your host today, Maya Gilbert. During this event, we will dive into the teachings of the Eros Sutras with Aubrey Fuller. Aubrey is a lead creator here and a 14-year practitioner of orgasmic meditation. You are the artist of your own life, and the world is waiting for your expression to awaken and draw out what it wants to bring forth. This is a bold way to think about living. Eros, the awakening to the pervasive intimacy of erotic love, is the fuel and the connective force that guides us to manifesting who we really are. There is no right or wrong way to approach the Eros Sutras. The agreement is that you will go in and wrestle out what is true for you in order to claim the strength and cultivate your deep spiritual power. There's no better way to start than dive in and begin digesting what you can chew. Enjoy yourself completely. The format of today's event will include an opening dedication by Leah Mendelsohn, and then a reading of today's sutra and a talk from Aubrey. Then we will open the floor to questions, and we will conclude with reflections and close with the dedication. Think about your questions while we're reading the sutra. We will now start with a dedication from Leah, followed by the sutra.
The prayer of the red thread. To the warriors of the red thread who follow their knowing no matter what, who embrace that they are power itself and make art and medicine from pain. To the benevolent beings of Eros who vow to bring heaven to earth rather than escape in the secure comfort of sleep or collapse into apathy or nihilism. To our many protectors in every dimension, our angels, our animal angels, and our feline guardians. To all those who came before and paved the way, and to the places that have held us and revealed the mysteries to us. To the underground mycelium network of information exchange. As the holders of this craft and the artists of the erotic mandala, we offer the very best of our practice, the full excellence of our hearts and efforts. We offer our joy and our deep, abiding enjoyment.
Thanks, Leah.
Take it away.
I like listening to that read by someone else. That's really nice. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, cool. Just checking. It's really good to see everybody. If I don't know you, I think I know pretty much everybody on this call, but if I don't know you, I'm Aubrey. I've led a few of these. It's been a little while. I'm really excited to do this particular sutra with you guys, just to kind of bring you up to speed if you haven't been on a sutra study in a little while. We're in the having level section of the principles book, the Eros Sutras principles book. And so we're doing a deep dive into receptive capacity, hitting your havingness, as we used to call it, hitting your having level. And today's sutra is called Threatened by Good. And it's good. If there's a single person on here who doesn't feel a little bit whacked by this sutra after the call, I would be surprised. These having level sutras are always wild. Okay, let's get into it. I'm going to do this a little bit different. I might make some comments as we go through. I lead the Sutra study group on Fridays on the platform at 1:30. Shameless plug for that group. It's really great. We take the sutra that we do on Tuesdays and we go into a deeper dive with it with a smaller group of people. And so I get to work with these a lot with people, and I really enjoy doing it this way, where I kind of like do some commentary as we read through it together. So don't be shocked if I do that. And then after that, we can do shares, and you guys can share whatever you're digesting from the sutra or what you noticed from it, or you can ask questions as well. So that is our format for today. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, all right. You can share it again, Court. Thanks. All right, Threatened by Good, Sutra number 28. When our identity the face of the tumescent mind is threatened by good, it's because something has occurred that goes radically against its conception of who the identity believes we are. So if you have been following these sutras every week, we did a whole one on the nature of identity and how identity is the homeostasis of the mind. It's kind of like it's like our comfort zone that we revert to. Instead of staying dynamic in our idea of who we are, we kind of revert to these like specific identities, and we sort of push out what doesn't belong to that idea, and we pull in what does belong to that idea and our idea about that identity. So when our identity is threatened by good, it's because something has occurred that goes radically against its conception of who the identity believes we are. Good can take many forms, from a sudden increase in intimacy between two people to self-actualization in purpose. Instead of welcoming growth, the tumescent mind is interested only in maintaining the status quo and will seek to reestablish its balance. So it's like, even when it's good, it's like, yeah, but it still takes me out of control. So let's get this balanced back out. I'm going to reject some of the good coming in because it still is making me feel out of control, even though it's good. To the tumescent mind, fresh goodness in our lives is a threat so destabilizing that it marshals all its resources in order to convince us to turn against or demonize the source of the good. That's intense. It's like, I shall rally all of my military to keep out this good. The tumescent mind then begins to collect selective evidence supporting the notion that there is imminent danger. So it will convince you in your own voice that the good coming in is actually dangerous to you. However, the danger it presents, like in reality, is to the tumescent mind and not to the self. So it's telling you this is dangerous, don't let this in. The only thing it's actually dangerous to is the tumescent mind that's, marshaling its military against the good. The experience of good entering our lives begins with a feeling of being outside the bounds of our skin. So you can just kind of know on a sensory level what it starts to feel like when good's trying to come in. A radical and perhaps unfamiliar sense of opening, a sensing of potential, not before known or experienced. This is a good point to stop and acknowledge. It is a deliberate way of coming down, so we do not fly too far out of the range of consciousness. If we do not come down, the mind will go out seeking threats, and we are off to the races. And because threats always exist, the mind will find them. It will always find them. Once found, the downward spiral will begin. The moment our identity is having level, the capacity to digest good is breached, the tumescent mind initiates a process whereby it goes about, this part is so wild, whereby it goes about artfully evoking negative behavior from whatever is threatening it, in the same way a musician would evoke sound by plucking a string. So this is like when you wake up in the morning and you are full and you've had a lot of good, and you are grouchy, and you wake up grouchy, and you think to yourself as you go through your day, running into every single person with your grouchy brows and your horns, why is this day so stupid, and why are all these people so dumb? And then you realize that you are artfully evoking negative behavior from whatever is threatening it, in the same way a musician would evoke sound by plucking a string. So you are literally drawing out, sounds intense to say, but the worst of people, with your tumescent mind is doing it like a musician. In a scenario where connection is involved, the tumescent mind is like a heat-seeking missile looking for any combustible areas in the consciousness of the other person that could be provoked in order to bring about a state of reactivity, which would in turn support the idea this person or activity must be avoided or escaped. So it's like a heat-seeking missile looking for buttons, your friend's buttons. It's like, I'm going to find those buttons and I'm going to push them. And when you react, because it's your button and I knew it was your button, I'm going to then use your reactivity as evidence for the fact that this person or activity must be avoided or escaped. It's out. I'm going to use it as evidence to reject something out here. Once the cycle is activated, it is very difficult to deactivate. Boy, did I have one of these the other night. Oh man, my boyfriend can attest. Once the cycle is activated, it is very difficult to deactivate and will run until it exhausts itself. This cycle will draw in whatever power source it can to siphon from. The key is to understand it always starts due to something positive. So going back to the name of the sutra, right? Threatened by good, because we'll really become convinced that this is all because of like problems in our life, negative things coming in, but if you really do the work to trace it back, it goes back to something positive, to something good trying to come in that our identity rejected because it wanted to keep that balance so we could feel in control, because that good coming in takes us out of control. So the key is to understand it always starts due to something positive. If we can follow the inner thread back to that point and acknowledge the good. So acknowledgement is like, if you're looking, if you're one of the people that immediately jumps to the how, this sutra actually gives it to you. And I cannot say that all sutras do that. They do not. Like a lot of times they circumambulate, and you really have to like activate your own erotic mind to, get your hands dirty, research it. This one's really telling us like acknowledgement is how you do it. So if you can follow the thread back to that point and acknowledge the good, the acknowledgement being the release valve rather than the reactivity. So the reactivity will act as a release valve, or you can use acknowledgement as a release valve. We can then integrate the positive experience and soften the behavior. Did anyone relate to any of that? Or were you just like, never had that experience in my life? Cara, never had that experience. Okay, cool. I'm alone. All right. Boy, yeah. So I had such an intense one of these the other night, and it was just exactly as it described. I'm going to keep it open just so I can even reference it really specifically. But it was like, with a lot of erotic practice over the years, a lot of orgasmic meditation, a lot of like working with, all of this whole body of work, and, a lot of teaching and a lot of coaching, like I've learned how to like watch for my patterns coming and not fall into them as easily. Right. But boy, this one the other night just sideswiped me and ensnared me, and there was no steering out of it. And I don't even know, it was like, there was this big upswell of, like arousal in my body, not necessarily like sexual arousal, but just like energy, or, it was just like some kind of wave of energy just came through. And I was all of a sudden kind of like, I have unexpected energy in my body. I have unexpected excitement and something in my body, and I'm not sure what to do with it. And then got home and was connecting with my partner, and then could feel it wanting to go into like a fight, and then avoided that for 20 minutes. and then it just caught me. It was so intense. It just caught me. And so we went into this fight, and it was exactly like it said. Once the cycle is activated, it's very difficult to deactivate and will run until it exhausts itself. It was like I could see from inside of it how much I wanted to stop fighting. And I just couldn't. And it had to run its course, and I had to kind of exhaust myself, and we had to like take space. And then I circled back, I think within 10 minutes, I texted, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I couldn't stop. I tried, I just couldn't stop. And he was very forgiving. So, and he was like, we'll just chalk it up to high energy. It's been like that lately, you guys. Like, whoo, we had this, really beautiful Buddhist retreat. Gosh, it was almost 2 weeks ago now. We had this beautiful Buddhist retreat that was 2 weeks long, and we had all of these monastery guests that came. Many of them are people who are on these sutra studies every week, and we had like so many friends come, and we had this amazing teacher, and Nicole was here teaching things as well and doing the sutra studies from here. And every single day was like packed with so much good into every crevice that you can bet, like, and I will speak for everyone here because I was in it with you guys and I know you felt this way too, but it was like, you just, sometimes you go home at the end of the night and you're like so tired from just trying to stay open for the good. And you're just like, and I would watch my mind at night, you know, want to make it negative. Like I'd watch my mind at night, want to be like, God, I'm so exhausted from all this good. What a hard life I have, you know, like, geez, having to sit in emptiness with this amazing Buddhist teacher all day and like be really connected to like my friends and feel like, you know, really plugged into all these really cool, purposeful things. And then, oh God, had to teach a class on the platform that I love teaching, you know, like just would watch my thoughts and like actually did a pretty good job at like being like, see if you can open just the tiniest bit more to like keep letting it in, you know, and keep letting it move through. And so each day was, in addition to, you know, showing up for this experience, it was like just letting it be good and letting it flow through and letting it, this was a really big piece, I think, that I'm also going to speak for all of us when I say this, that it was like, you could feel it expanding our capacity. And that's uncomfortable. Like it's literally, it's like building muscle or something, like going to the gym a lot. You can feel your body changing and stretching and, you know, or maybe it's like being pregnant. I've never been pregnant, but it's like you feel like a very real, tangible experience of like stretching in a way that your mind is kind of like, alert, alert. I don't know about this. This seems dangerous. Maybe you should stop. And instead, it's like you have to consciously be like, we're allowing change to occur, like just open and allow it, you know. And then the acknowledgement was a really big one too. You know, someone would come and say, let's do gratitudes. And I would probably Maya or my partner Hisham is really good about gratitudes, or, you know, some other cheerful person would come and be like, let's do gratitudes. And I would look at them like they were crazy. And I'd be like, oh, that's the dumbest idea. And then we would do like 2, and I could literally feel the, like it said in the sutra, like the release valve, I could literally feel the sort of overinflated, stretchy feeling, like ease. And then my whole system would just kind of adjust to everything that was coming in, you know? And so, yeah, and I really think that it's a communal effort. It takes a village. Like we all help each other expand our having level for sure. And acknowledgement and gratitude is a really big piece of that. So these are my thoughts on threatened by good. And that's what I got. There's Marcy. Hi, Marcy. Okay, so let's do shares. So like if you have a question, definitely that is a great thing. If you have just a part of the sutra that really stood out to you that you were like, oh my God, I'm so nailed by that part, or, you know, things like that are great. And we can just spend a good amount of time doing that. So we have a few online. We'll start in online or in the, we'll start online. All right, it's either Vanessa or Cara or both.
It was Vanessa, but maybe Cara has something to say. I was on the land for the retreat, and my experience was calling my partner, and you know, I was like feeling great, and I said, I just have a few things I haven't said, and this monster came out of my mouth at him, and I got off the phone and I went, and Maya was sitting at the lodge, and I was like, oh yeah, I think I just, you know, basically threw up all of this crap onto him. And she goes, try calling back and sharing some of the good things that have happened. And it was an awkward conversation to call back and be like, can I share some good things that happened? And he said,
it's very nonlinear.
It's nonlinear. And it was like, it was such a turn on a dime. He said yes. And then I started to share good things that happened. And it was like reality just flipped. We just swapped out of that one into another one that was way more pleasurable. So I had never realized that gratitudes also look like sharing frames. Obviously, that's, you know, like sharing frames of good. So yeah, a gratitude doesn't necessarily- I
Acknowledgement.
didn't think, yeah, acknowledgement. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
look like I'm grateful for this. It can just be like this good thing is happening, and in that connective sharing, the growth happens and the tiles flip over. And it was just so the difference was so stark that I could see it. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Is that what the word is? Yeah.
It was like incontrovertible.
Yeah, incontrovertible.
Yeah.
Day
You're
and
like,
night.
all right, I'll follow this person's, suggestion, but it's probably
In one reality, I felt awful, and he
right.
hated himself and me probably. And then in the other reality, it felt great. We felt more intimate with each other, and I felt like there was more spaciousness on the other side of it. So it's just like that.
So good. So good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Did you want to say?
Carol.
Hi, I loved your share, Aubrey. I love this. It's so perfect. And I'm in one of these right now of like wrestling with I'm in the good. For anybody who doesn't know, I just moved to Fairfield, Iowa. I'm going to be a regular daily meditator for world peace and group meditations in a golden dome. So I'm super excited. And honestly, it's been, yay, I finally made it. So I'm here, I got my stuff moved in yesterday, and I've been staying in this guest center, and literally everything that I've needed has been provided. It's just been wonderful. It's like the day that I arrived late one night, I was supported in that. It was really great. It was in the light of the new moon of Aries, so new beginnings, what a way to arrive. And it just been helped. Like my new neighbors are all really super helpful, and just everything from A to Z has been really great. Like the first day, like there was a class happening at the guest center where I am, and so they served breakfast and a full hot lunch, and I was like, I think I'll just have some, and nobody cared. It was great. And the cleaning lady barely speaks English, and she's like, look, there's bagels, there's cream cheese, like, you can have whatever you want. So every morning I've been going and having breakfast, and it's been really great. And so I was getting ready to move my stuff out, and I went in the refrigerator. I brought all this food with me. I love brie cheese, and I bought all this really expensive French cheese, and brought it with me on the trip. It all made it. It was in the refrigerator. I went to get it to take it to my new home, and the woman who runs the thing threw it all away. And I'm just like in this thing where I just want to hate her. That's my thing. And it's like, how dare she? That's so violating. And her thing said Tuesday, and it happened on Monday. And I'm like, but your sign says Tuesday. And she's like, well, your food was all spoiled and rotten. I was like, no, it wasn't. This all through email. No, it wasn't. It's just expensive French brie cheese. It smells like that, And but meanwhile, like Vanessa said, I can actually see and then I go up to my home, which is just across the street. And my neighbor had just brought me this plate of lasagna that he got from the cafeteria. He's like, guess what? I brought you a plate of lasagna for dinner. And I was like, okay, so it's like I could just give it up with the cheese, but I'm still just so incensed, and because I feel so violated, and I'm like, why I'm like a dog with a bone about this cheese, It's like, why can't I just give it up? And to the extent that I'm able to just give it up and move beyond, it's like other miracles start to show up, or generosity starts to show up. So it's actually a really good laboratory for seeing how I'm the one who's causing the disruption in the good coming my way. And what's up with that I can't just continue to expand and just get more in touch with, well, what is it that I really want? And then open to having that. So
I mean, I can totally understand why you're so attached to the cheese, it's like it's your Tumescent mind's life raft,
Absolutely.
It's
And I
like
bought
it's last, it's not even a life raft, it's like those little floaties that you have when you're a kid.
right,
It's like your Tumescent mind's little floaties, just being like, I'll die I'll die if I let go of this last grudge, I'll die. I'll just have to admit that it's just really, really good and everything's perfect.
Yeah. And, here I am in like rural American, the Midwest, and like, do they have a French cheese shop nearby? No, of course they don't. So how am I going to get any more? And so, yeah, it was definitely that, like tying myself to my past, and I really like French cheese. So
No, it perfectly illustrates that. It's exactly it. It'll be like we'll be like, wow, everything is so good except for this one stupid thing right here. And I'm really going to magnify this one thing and just zero in on it. And just
oh my God, I've been
focus on
crafting
this one thing.
my next email and saying, like, you're in the wrong line of work, lady. If you're supposed to be in hospitality, you need to take some training in like kindness and service. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's the thing. I don't know.
Oh my God, Carol, you should, my God, how would you name that? You could write like a comedy book that's like the comedy of the Tumescent mind or something. It's like,
Oh yeah, that's so
like
good.
all of the ways that it speaks in a way that like kind of takes the wind out of its sails because it's so funny. Like when you actually bring humor to it and you just you're like, well, that's what it sounds like in my head. It's like it's
really
ours script.
That's
Thanks,
a really
Carol.
good. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Love this sutra.
Yeah, that's a good one. Marcy.
Hello. Good to see you. Aubrey, I love when you teach, the way you teach, when you read it and then you pause to like offer some interpretation. I just really appreciate how you do that, whether it's, like concept interpretation or interpretation with an example for us from your life. It's really helpful and it's just charming as fuck too. So as I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, a couple of thoughts. So this morning I was driving to an appointment and I was getting really cranky with drivers doing this and that and the other thing. And I'm usually not a road rage kind of leaning person. And I was like, oh, did I not? Oh, right. I didn't do my meditation. I'm praying in my car, and like for sanity and serenity. And it will be interesting to kind of trace it back to, like, is it lack of meditation or is it this, right? Is it that there's something, just there's a flow of goodness and why not be a little cranky to just expel the energy instead of using energy for something else? That's just one thought. And I wonder too, I tend to run late and I have a hard time in transitions. Like if something's good going on, like I don't want it to end. Like when I was up at the land, I did a round trip same day and I was like, what am I doing? And I had made plans for back at home, but all I wanted to do was stay there. And so there's this crankiness that immediately kind of uploads when I have to end something or I just delay ending it. And then I'm still in a traffic jam of hell of sorts because I'm either running late or I've disappointed someone because I've postponed whatever, or I'm rushing. Like I totally whacked my head. Like, I don't know if you can see, it's like yellow still on my car frame. I had a great day. In a moment, I got out of my car and I was like, oh, let me grab that little piece of litter that I picked up to then put it in the trash can as I'm like also needing to race down to meet someone that I'm late to meet. and I turned and I whacked, massively. So I spent the afternoon in emergency room, just kind of like, it's curious.
Yeah.
Wondering what thoughts you might have, especially around the things are really good and not wanting to stop to then like, okay, I have to do this commitment, or I said I was gonna leave the land and now I really don't want to.
Yeah, I think like I love that. I love the first thought you shared too. That was really well said. Like it points to this whole rewiring that has to take place where we're so used to when we have like a complaint or something, replaying, like we have that as well, then I have a complaint because something bad happened. And it's a whole rewiring that can take place where you're like, maybe I have a complaint because something good happened a while back that never got acknowledgement. And that feels very like counter instinctive or something to think of it that way. And so I really want to like highlight that, what you said, because I think that's you doing rewiring. Like that's the work. That's really good. And
I think it's also counter culture as well.
Yeah, totally.
I was having dinner with friends after this huge free concert. It was an amazing day. And the dinner conversation, I almost ran out screaming, felt so like the forced come down cranky conversation. It was just such a drag.
Yeah, totally. We don't come down well. Yeah, and then to the other part, I think I think it's like being in the body, and I think there's a whole, let me see, in the principles book, is that section called that? One moment. Up to below. Well, there's not a mind body section per se in principles, but above to below has a good amount of it, and then they're kind of sprinkled throughout. And then here, another shameless plug, I did make a course on mind and body on the platform that is self-study, or at some point there will be a live series of calls, maybe even with me, about that. But those other things that you mentioned speak to me very highly of mind body, relationship between mind and body, being so sunken down into the body that transitions. I'm kind of a excitable person. I get easily, I get easily anxious and stuff. Some of you guys know my story. I used to be really, really introverted, kind of socially anxious and stuff. And so I have all these different little strategies that I do to make transitions smoother and easier. So I really relate about having a challenge with transitions. And so the very biggest piece is being so sunken down into your body that you're like, okay, I'm headed into a transition. And it could be a life transition. It could be from outside your car to inside your car. It could be from one room to another. Like, I don't know what it is about transitions, but I really understand that. And so it's about being sunken down into your body so much that you can kind of navigate those spots from that seat. So yeah, check out those sutras, and then definitely check out that course on the platform as well.
Yeah, I'm the image of a hanger, and my mind is, the body is the hanger, and then my mind is this like stuff that gets draped. I don't know for what, just to like peel off the drapery. And
Yeah.
Just, yeah. One thing before we go to the next person, one thing is we all come down at different paces and in different ways, and that's a lot where the the head-on collisions happen.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, or not at all, or nobody's coming down very much at all, and then that happens. Yeah, it's an art to come down really deliberately, and yeah, I don't think it's a common skill.
Well, what I learned is that we're always going to end up coming down. It's whether we do it skillfully or not.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. Should I just go on word? Okay, Lisa.
Hello. So last week I spoke to Nicole and she said I was full, and I was like, I don't know, am I not? So now that I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh God. Man, that would have been helpful for me to read this Sunday night. Because it says the moment our identities having level the capacity to digest good is breached, the Temesset mind initiates a process whereby it goes about artfully, that's impressive, artfully evoking negative behavior from whatever is threatening it in the same way a musician would evoke sound by plucking a string. So yeah, I created some massive art on Sunday night. Yeah, this would have been helpful then, but that's okay. And you know, it started with Ephraim, which you and I spoke about in our coaching call, and then I think the women's call too. But even that day after that explosion happened, and it wasn't even that massive, like I felt it, I processed it, but then that night into the next day, I continued to get really bizarre, intense negative calls from like issues with my grandmother's social worker. Like the morning before, the woman was sweet and kind and loving. By the end of the day, it was like a completely different person on the phone. And then I was like, I had that moment when it was happening that I was like, okay, this is an intense drop from a peak, you know? And then there was like, oh, this is like, I'm collapsing. I feel like I'm collapsing underneath this, and I can't stay sweet and kind and loving, or turned on, or playful, or joyful, or like find the humor and like, you know, get off. And I was just like, I'm dead. I am on the floor. And so I definitely would like to work on my capacity to digest good. Because even though there's a lot of intense things happening, I was really like impressed with my ability to stay afloat, and not even just afloat, but just like enjoying the ride of it. And like bringing all of me to each experience, and being an erotic woman in all locations, and being love and joy and play and humor. And then I spoke to Nancy, and she was like, don't beat yourself up. So I'm also trying not to do that, because just because I fell off of the surfboard doesn't mean any value of my being. It's just an experience that I had, and there are lessons inside of it. Oh, yeah, man.
Good
Evoking
job.
negative behavior. That was
Good job.
heat
Look who's
seeking.
crashing it. Look who's crashing it today.
Heat-seeking missile. All right. It was a heat-seeking missile, finding all the combustible areas. It wasn't just one. All right. It was like multiple missiles went out in multiple directions, and they exploded at different times. And I'm like, how did this happen? Right. And then I hit victim, and you were like, don't be a victim. And I was like,
No, that's not what I said.
what'd you say?
I said, stop being mean to yourself.
There was something there about being victim-minded.
Not this time. Not this time. There wasn't.
Maybe it wasn't from you.
Say that to you. I'd say that to you. I would say that to you. I said, stop being mean and go to bed. I said, stop being mean to yourself. Go home and go to bed. You're exhausted. That's what I said. You feel
Okay, maybe it was another sister. Another sister said that. And I was like, I am being a little victim-y, you know, because I wasn't looking at how I created it.
Okay, so how are you gonna digest the good?
Well, then it said I had to go back and find the moment. So let's do it right now. Okay, I did it. I did it already though.
Okay, one.
Yeah, so
Nothing extra.
No. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find like a really clean, succinct one. Yeah, in the midst of all of this that was happening with the family, Ephraim was showing up very sweet, kind, and loving, and connective, and attentive, and responsive, and relatable, and I think I just blew out on it. But yeah, it was really nice.
Good job. Why don't you text me? She's my client, so I'm going to give her a coaching assignment. Why don't you text me 20 more of those from a bunch of different areas? So they can be a couple more from the relationship area and then just any other areas.
On it.
By 3 my time.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
I think I lost I can't see my little hand, people. Were there a couple more? If not, we'll
I
just
can
go to
do a
here.
question that was asked online.
Okay.
There is a question online. Is there such a thing as too much good, or is our capacity infinite?
Who asked that? Did they ask to be anonymous? Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's see. I don't know, man. I think it's infinite. I am not the authority of all things forever, but then again, maybe I am. I think it's infinite, you know. I think I know the thing that attracted me personally to this path was that there feels like there's no ceiling on it. It feels infinite, like the amount of growth that you can experience within it is never ending. And yet at the same time, there's very tangible, significant milestones and like initiation experiences into the deeper parts of yourself and stuff along the way that have it feel like you're tangibly accomplishing a lot, because you are, and yet there's no ceiling on how far you can go. So I would say, you know, along with the, you know, infinite nature of perfection and the evolving nature of it and all of that, it's all good, falls into that category. And we're just, you know, it's like, if you've ever had, if you've ever taken psychedelics or you've ever had an OM and you've entered the mystical state, you know, like, and touched that place where there's just so much more right here, right now happening, that when you open your, you know, your being to it, becomes available to you. And so maybe like clearing, you know, like digesting the backlog that we have of things of the good to acknowledge that we've experienced, just clears the way for that much more to come in. And maybe like our everyday experience could be like almost like what it's like to be in the mystical state all the time. And I think that's pretty much what this path is like, how do I have every minute? That's what it is for me. How do I have every minute of every day be in the mystical state in a grounded way? Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Aubrey.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions online from anybody
Or in the room.
or in the room?
Birthday boy.
More of just I guess a reflection on it. The concept of digesting the good and, you know, and actually coming down from, you know, from a height is something that I've been proudly living my whole life avoiding. And it's one of those things where you almost like you almost run into the train wreck, like, and you have some, you know, it's like you get to see it slowly happening, and then you're looking back and you're like, oh God, this is not happening. Because I remember like not that long ago, maybe 6 months ago or something, I was in a car and I was in one of those places where I was just complaining. I was to a colleague and I was like, this is wrong and this is wrong. And, you know, and vehemently like saying these things and believing that I have like really clear sight on them. And he's like, you know, I think maybe you just like, there's just too much good for you to, you know, to actually acknowledge. And that's like the source of your problem. And so the challenge I have is I almost never recognize that I'm heading in that direction. You know, it's almost like you're you're in quicksand and don't know it. And then you find yourself in, you know, in that spot and you're like, oh my God, this feels, everything is wrong, and, you know, and nothing can work. And so, yeah, it's, I think it's a real challenge for me to actually recognize that I do, you know, that I do hit those places. And so when, you know, when Nicole did a talk, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and talked about how for a period of time she had to run gratitudes for like an hour every night, or, you know, or something like that. I was like, that's, you know, because I pick out these little practice tips here and there, and I was like, that's one you really need. And I'm sure I got there this morning and, you know, and didn't quite get to the, you know, that new practice, but it sounds like something that I'd love to do. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Good story. Kathy.
Yeah, hi. I have a history of avoiding or distracting from, you know, legitimately hard things in my life, you know, and I've done it with substances. I've done it with depression. I've got a lot of tricks for distracting myself. And this sounds like something that I could latch on to and use in a toxic way, to just not acknowledge the reality of hard things and just kind of try to look behind that for the good that's happening, and then not actually fully be in what's going on inside of me with respect to the hard things. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can, you know, but I think the feeling tone difference between using, I don't know, like fake positivity to bypass what's really going on is vastly different than how this one feels, you know, like the sensory and emotional experience of actually being like, you know, because it's not saying like you don't have painful things that you're in the midst of working with and feeling deeply and like converting and wrestling with and figuring out how to have intimacy with. It's just saying if you have like if there's a complainy voice, that's kind of like that repetitive, like it's not even, it's something about it almost doesn't feel totally real. That kind of speaks to, oh, something good happens that didn't get acknowledged. And that, you know, is actually a deeper sinking in and will have a totally different feeling tone to it than like misusing something like that to avoid.
Thanks. I appreciate that nuance.
Yeah. Yeah. TL. No TL. Dylan. Where's your mute button, buddy? There we go. No, oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry. Are you on? I think I could relate about what you said earlier, because I think it was 5 years ago, I started a new job. It was, what do you call it? It was called civic service. You work for the city hall and you have different jobs, working with old people, working with children. And before that, I didn't go out for 4 years. I didn't want to go out anymore. I drank a lot, sadly. And when I started this job, like as you know, Aubrey, I love to make people laugh. So, I mean, I remember the first day ever, we were at the city hall, and I could see the face of the guys and girls, and they were so nervous. They were like, you know, and I look at them. I said, "Welcome." You know, I did the Godfather, and they laughed. And my point is actually I was never the most popular guy, so to speak. And during the months, a lot of people love me. They want to be with me. After 4 years being alone, I felt good, you know. And sadly, the what do you call it? My coworker didn't like me one bit. She hates me. And she said stupid things to the boss about I was always late, I was rude. And I think one time she said that I insulted a kid, which believe me wasn't true. I love to give myself. Like for instance, oh, Sophie's not here. No problem, I'm here. Anthony's not here. No problem. I love to give myself. And because of her, she said stupid things. I was fired. I had debts. Honestly, I was at the bottom. And my point is, I had so much trouble trusting people after that. Still to this day, I have troubles trusting people, which pissed me off. I know it's in the past, but I love that job. I really do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story. Well, I know a thing or two about being canceled. So I feel you, man. I get that. And I think your thing, like, I've been getting to know you for a couple weeks now, 2-3 weeks or so on our, on the different platform calls and stuff. And my impression of you is my impression of a lot of people who find their way to this path. Not that you're unique, but there's just this one particular piece, which is that we're a lot of us are quite sensitive. We're sensitive in an insensitive world. And I think your, kind of mission in life is going to be like building resilience and trusting that when like bad things happen, that they might be for, not like in a bypass way, but for like deeper reasons that are yet to be seen sometimes, like the one thing that you got from that job for sure was a deep imprint of like when I was looking for purpose in my life and looking for where I belonged and where I would feel most expressed in the world, I would gather bits and pieces of, I'd have an experience that would light me up and I would be like, put that in the puzzle box of what I'm supposed to do with my life, because that is got to be a piece of it, and so you got a puzzle piece of what your most brilliant, deepest genius function is in the world. Like, you like to make people laugh, you like to be of service to people in this particular way and work with people like that job let you do. So you got a piece of the like blueprint in a sense. And so it was a really valuable experience. I don't know why, this woman did that or whatever, or what lesson there is in that, and I know that like the sensitive people, the really, really sensitive people not being defeated and crushed by the painful things that they go through is really important. It's really important, like the sensitive people forging their way through and finding resilience, and matching that sensitivity with power is really crucial for like, I don't know, like the consciousness of the planet or something. Like it's really important, This is why in the red thread prayer that I wrote that Leah read today, I say like, I forget what it says exactly, but you choose something and not collapse into comfort or apathy or nihilism, because that's real. Like it's really easy to just feel defeated and be like, this world sucks, it's painful and people are mean, I'm out, and just kind of check out. And so, you know, I love that you're participating in all of these calls and like finding yourself again and finding your joy again and finding the courage to like be a sensitive person who's like creeping back out of hiding and be like, okay, I'm ready to try another round in the world again. And you'll need, you know, support and community, in my experience, to do that successfully. But it is possible to develop resilience as a sensitive person and, you know, make it in the world and not feel like it's just going to kill you. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That is all the time we have for questions today. Thank you so much for your vulnerability. We will wrap now with with 2 reflections. These can be reflections for Aubrey or someone else who you've heard on the call today.
Aubrey, during that last exchange with Dylan, I just realized how intimate this whole sutra study has felt. Even though there's 50 plus people on it, it feels like just so intimate. And I love that about that quality of attention that you have, that if it always feels very intimate.
Hey, this is Christoph. There was a moment in the beginning when Vanessa was sharing her experience with her boyfriend, and it had me feel this like instant shift from like this like, you know, latching on to the negative, but like shifting to like a more positive like mental state, emotional state, when you actually like put an emphasis on the good and express that. And yeah, I really felt that shift when you were sharing that. Thank you.
Sophia.
Thank you. Sophia?
Hi, I just want to say that I definitely got whacked as he promised, in a delightful way, because I was thinking like, I've been kind of digesting this experience I've had, and I really related to when Lisa was sharing about the line of like plucking the instrument, and how she shared like, oh, I'm a really amazing artist, and I was like, wow, even this is art. And so I kind of feel like my orientation has been flipped around on its head and right side up. So I feel really grateful for the love that you bring, and yeah, just like clarity and truth.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. Yeah, I recommend everyone just in your own hearts after this call, think of something that was good about this call, and it'll help you digest the good of this call in and of itself. So for everyone who is on here, I just wanted to let you know we have an amazing month of October that we have mapped out here at the Eros Monastery. We just are coming off of just an absolutely incredible September with a lot of these events going on, and we have another one coming up for October. So for anyone who is out there who would like to visit, the Eros Monastery is a beautiful property. It's 160 acres with houses and cabins and this beautiful barn that we're in, and we do events. We have organic cooked meals for us. It is a beautiful experience of Eros and all of the entire world that comes with it, Buddhism and practices and gardening and all of that. So if anyone is interested in coming for a monastery stay here for the month of October, you can write into the chat and someone can get in touch with you and just tell you more about what it entails and what is available for this month. We would love to see all of you in person. And so with that, I will hand it to Leah for our closing dedication.
We dedicate our excellence, our resourcefulness, our creativity, and our resilience to the building of the mandala and the awakening of the feminine pole. May all women everywhere recognize that they are made of power and become willing to carry the weight of it, wielding it with joy for the mandala of humankind.
Thank you guys. See you next week.